once again. A big thanks to Gerard from Bon Voyage, and welcome back to The Beat Goes On. Right now it's time for that time when we talk to our special guest. Tonight's special guest is Max Cryer. Max now has 12 books to his name, and his new one is released this very week. It's called Every Dog Has Its Day. 1,000 things you didn't know about man's best friend. Tonight we give away 3 copies to 3 lucky viewers. We welcome Max Cryer as our special guest on The Beat Goes On. Back in the studio after a year's absence is Mr. Max Cryer. Wonderful to have you on the show again today, Max.
Thank you.
You always pay a visit when you've produced a brand new book. Every Dog Has Its Day.
Yes.
Now that's an interesting title for a book. Where did the title come from?
More or less from Shakespeare. Shakespeare said in Hamlet, he said, every dog has his day. But we decided that in this era of equality, that
Gender equality?
Yes, quite so. So we just made a subtle difference, and it's every dog has its day, male or female.
Its day. Now, what's the number of dogs in New Zealand? There's a lot, isn't there? There's 4 million people, and let's say there's 500,000 families. Just about 50% have a dog, don't they?
I would think that's possible, because some of the rural properties, of course, have more than one.
Yes,
like
exactly.
most urban people have one, maybe 2. But in a rural property, it's quite possible to have 3 or 4 or 5.
And every one of those dogs has its day.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
Now, what made you think, I'd like to write a book about dogs? What was the pathway leading to that
Well,
moment?
I'll tell you the truth. I work in libraries a lot, and I noticed in the libraries that I go to that there was usually a shelf of book about dogs, and I like dogs. I'm a great dog fan.
Have you got one yourself?
No, alas, no. I'm in the library too much. But I did notice that there were always shelves full of dog books, but my eyes slowly took in that there were only 3 kinds. There are books about breeds, 400 different breeds of dogs, beautiful coloured photographs, $85 for the book, and you've only got 1 dog in the house. Then there's a whole bunch of books about training your dog and looking after your dog and how to keep it healthy and all that. And then there's a bunch of books that people write about their own dog, me and my dog, and what a happy holiday we had, sort of thing. But there's nothing in there, there's nothing for the ordinary family who just has a dog, a pet dog. And I decided to set out and find something interesting, or rather 1,000 interesting things, about dogs, plural, so that you don't have to buy a book about a breed or how to look after your dog or whatever. There's something in there for almost everyone who has a dog.
And dare I say it, what a great gift idea. Somebody's got a dog, they love their dog. I can think of a person immediately, and I'll say, hi, Richard. He'll know who I'm talking about. And he and Sally, they love their dogs, and they would love a book like this. So if I know somebody, everybody knows somebody.
Let's hope. Let us hope, because there's 2 years of my life in there.
Yeah. Now, it's amazing that there is all these interesting facts about a dog. I mean, it's how many pages?
I'll tell you, it started out as 101 things you didn't know about dogs, and it grew and grew and grew. And the publisher said, we'll have to change it to 1,001. And I was a bit apprehensive and thought, well, I don't know if I've actually got 1,001 pieces there in the book, but the publisher said, well, number 1, nobody's going to count them. Number 2, dogs can't count anyway. And it's whatever the number is, we don't know, but there's many, many, many snippets about dogs in there, about their tongue, and about their smelling, and about their sensitivity to sound, and all the things they do for humankind. So we stuck to 1,000.
Now, interesting facts, Max. We've got a whole page of, I went through the book and had a look, and there's the one that dog sense of smell, 1 million times stronger sniffing abilities than
you
us.
and me. Yes.
Wow.
Well, we have 3 square centimetres of smell sensory material. A dog has 130 square centimetres of it, because if you open their mouth and look in, it's rippled. And that's a huge surface area there. And also the connection between their smelling and their brain is far quicker. So it has been estimated that they can smell 1 million times better than we can. And of course at the airport, they can smell drugs inside a barrel of mothballs. Yes, they can. And they can be trained to smell, like if a person is allergic to peanuts, which is very serious, a dog can learn the smell of peanuts and it will warn their owner off it. Don't go near there, don't eat that. They can
wonderful?
also smell at a very early stage of cancer. The body's metabolism changes very, very slightly, and a dog can be trained to detect that change so that he is aware that someone is about to get cancer of the breast or cancer of the bowel or different kinds of. They can tell by that. Their smelling is extraordinary.
It's the bane of everybody who takes a dog for a walk. They're constantly sniffing at everything, aren't they? And
Well-
you're pulling them on their lead, come on, and they're sniffing everything.
But then that's what the American Dave Barry said, and I love this line. He said, that is the dog's newspaper. The dog walks along, you see it in the suburbs every day. The dog is sniffing. Who went there? How big was he? How old was this person? Was there a lady dog involved? What's happening? And then if the smell goes round the corner, he wants to go to the next street and keep on going. And then, of course, the next day, there's a whole new newspaper there.
Yes.
And that is why when they're going down the street, and male dogs lift their legs for two reasons. One is that they have to get rid of the urine, and the other is that a male dog's urine contains salts and trace elements that show how old he is, how big he is, whether he's dangerous, all sorts of personal information. And the leg is lifted so that the pee goes at the nose height of the next dog that walks past.
Wow.
It's complex, isn't it?
Isn't it wonderful? Now, all these facts
Yes.
are in this book.
Plus the interesting...
1,000 facts about dogs. It's wonderful.
Plus the interesting, while we're on the subject of leg raising, if you'll forgive me mentioning it again, that was one of the factors in space travel. That is why we are able to fly in rockets nowadays, because in the early days of rocket experiments, the Russians sent many dogs up into the air. Only one ever died. The rest were all brought back, and they provided very valuable information about air needed up there and movement and body metabolism, but they were all female. Because rockets had very small space inside.
You just didn't have room to lift a leg.
Exactly. A male dog has to lift his leg and a female doesn't, so they were all female dogs.
Fantastic little book. And, I mean, even Dog's Way of Drinking, I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
I found that hard to believe when I first came across this, because we've all seen dogs drinking, but I never really registered the details. But I came across a piece about dogs drinking and I found it hard to believe. But fortunately, I made contact with someone who was able to show me slow motion of a dog drinking. And what I had learnt was true. A dog puts its tongue into the liquid and then he curls the tongue downwards, not upwards, and pulls it back, with liquid, of course, escaping like mad out of both sides. He gets into his mouth whatever he can that's left and then does it all over again, always underneath, like that.
It's so fast, isn't it?
Very fast and very messy. But there's a signal in their head somewhere that if the liquid, or it's not a liquid, like if it's something like porridge, they revert. They put the tongue in and go up and carry it up.
Gosh.
It's bizarre, I know, but we did say 1,000 things people don't know about dogs.
Now, all this information, putting all this information, you never was tempted to say, hey, look, I think I'll go out and get myself a little dog.
Oh, I've been tempted that 1,000 times.
What's stopping you, Max?
Yeah, well, I'm away a lot. You know, I'm out of town and have been going away a lot, almost all my adult life. So I really have to take my pleasure with other people's dogs and not one of my own.
But you do like dogs.
Oh, love them, yes. And cats. I don't want to alienate, because half our viewers, you see, like cats. And we mustn't say exclude one to the other. But I have to say that I think of cats as being descended from gods. There's a certain God spiritual quality about cats, whereas dogs are part of the family. They're a person. And I've said in the book that people who like cats get tremendous amount of companionship from them, plus a cat is always a reminder that humans aren't in charge. The cat is in charge. There's
Always in charge.
No question of it. Whereas a dog quite willingly becomes not your servant, but your friend, and will help you and do things for you.
Now, one final fact I saw here was dogs' teeth. That's interesting, isn't it?
Not only the number of the teeth, but what they can do with them, because you and I, with any luck, have 32 teeth. A dog has 42. And of course, when they bite, they have a huge pressure. Like a normal dog can produce 68 kilograms of pressure on a bite. That's 150 pounds. And a really big dog has 240 kilograms of pressure. You know, as in police dogs chasing a criminal sort of thing.
Well, Max, I think our viewers, we've been talking to them now for 15 minutes, and they're thinking, I would love a book like this.
Oh, I hope so.
And so we're going to give away 3, aren't we? We're allowed to give away 3?
Yes, we are.
So we need a question, Max, and I think we'll make it very simple, just the title of the book. And so if you can email Gerard at The Beat Goes On, And in the subject line, and even a little note why you would like a book like this, every dog has its day. That's, well, the question is, what's the name of the book? And every dog has its day. But if you miss out, where is the book available, Max?
I would hope every bookshop you walk past.
Every good bookstore in New Zealand will have Every Dog and Its Day. Wonderful. Now, I always ask this, Max, and you always refuse to tell me. What are you working on now?
I'm not telling you.
It's always embargoed.
Yeah, I am.
I have to wait for another year to find out what you're working on.
I have a project on, and I'm absorbed in that, and I'm enjoying it very much. And it's something that really affects everybody, not just dog owners, but everyone. And I will tell you about it sometime next year.
And how many books is it now? There
Oh,
must be up to
heavens, I
about
think this is the
6 or 7.
12th.
Number 12?
Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful. Max, we'll see you in a year's time with your next book. Thanks, Max. Thank you, Max. The Beat Goes On. We'll be back after the break with John Galvin from Fortuna Syndications.